Water damage, it's pretty much every homeowner's nightmare. One minute, everything's totally fine, and the next, it's just chaos. So in this explainer, we're going to walk through how you can turn that crisis into a controlled, totally manageable process. Let's dive in.
Okay, just picture this for a second. It's 2 a.m. You wake up to that sound you never ever want to hear. Water, and a lot of it. Your basement is flooding. I mean, what do you even do? Who do you call? What's the plan? That feeling of sheer panic, that's exactly where we're going to start.
All right, so first things first, let's tackle the emergency itself. It's so important to understand why even something that looks like a small, simple leak can, and often does, become a massive threat to your property.
It's a really good question, right? How does a little bit of water cause so much trouble? Well, the danger isn't just the water itself. It's how fast the situation gets out of hand, affecting everything from the structure of your home all the way to your family's health.
And the thing is, water damage can come from pretty much anywhere. You could have a huge storm that just overwhelms your basement, or a pipe that bursts in the middle of a winter freeze, or hey, even a simple washing machine hose that finally gives out. And each one of these scenarios brings its own unique set of challenges.
The one thing you have to remember is speed. Water does not stay put. It soaks into your drywall, it creeps under the flooring, it literally climbs up the frame of your house. Every single minute that goes by, the damage gets more extensive and way more expensive to fix. In this situation, time is absolutely your enemy.
Okay, enough about the problem, right? Let's talk about the solution. The good news is there's a professional, methodical process for all of this. It's really all about turning that chaos we talked about into a crystal clear plan of action.
When you get right down to it, a professional restoration job boils down to these 3 core phases. First, you have to respond to the emergency and get the water out. Then, you dry everything, and I mean scientifically dry it. And finally, you rebuild. It's a really logical path from total disaster back to normal life.
So let's dive into phase 1. This is all about immediate action. Priority number 1 is to find the source and stop the leak, period. Then they bring in these powerful extractors to get rid of all that standing water. Technicians will also use some really cool tools, like thermal cameras, to see exactly where moisture has spread, even if it's hiding behind the walls.
Now, phase 2 is where the science really kicks in, and this is what fascinates me. This is not about setting up a few fans you bought at the hardware store. We're talking about huge, commercial-grade dehumidifiers and high-speed air movers that literally pull moisture out of wood and drywall. And all the while, they're taking constant readings with moisture meters until every single surface is verifiably back to its dry standard.
And that brings us to the final phase, the one that really matters. It's all about getting your home back to the way it was. Once everything is confirmed to be bone dry, the reconstruction can finally begin. This could mean replacing drywall, putting in new floors, painting, whatever it takes to restore your property to its pre-loss condition, as they say in the business. But hold on, there's another really important layer to all of this. You have to know that not all water is the same. To handle an emergency the right way, you've got to understand what kind of water you're dealing with. Because honestly, some of it is way more dangerous than you'd think.
So, the industry actually has a system for this. It's broken down into 3 categories. Category 1 is basically clean water, like from a burst supply pipe. Category 2 is what's called gray water. It's a little contaminated, maybe from a washing machine overflow, but Category 3, that's black water, and that's the one you really, really need to worry about.
And here's why. Category 3 water, which you get from things like sewage backups or groundwater flooding, is seriously contaminated. It can be full of all sorts of dangerous pathogens. With black water, you can't just dry out materials like drywall or carpet or insulation. It's not safe. They have to be carefully removed and completely replaced, no exceptions. This brings us back to the science behind the drying process. Like we touched on earlier, this is a highly technical field. It's about so much more than just making things feel dry to the touch. There's a whole science to it. If you only remember one number from this whole explainer, let it be this one, 48. In the right damp conditions, mold can start to grow in as little as 48 hours. That's why the whole professional drying process is so critical. It's literally a race against the clock to stop a much bigger, much nastier problem from starting.
So what the professionals do is something called structural drying, and it's exactly what it sounds like, a scientific process that involves manipulating the entire environment inside your home. See, warm, dry air can hold a ton more moisture than cool, damp air. So by controlling the temperature, the humidity, and the airflow, they can literally pull that trapped moisture right out of the building materials. This is what truly saves the integrity of your home.
The big takeaway here is that just pointing some fans at a wet wall and hoping for the best, well, it just won't cut it. Proper structural drying is about managing the science of air and moisture. It's a field called psychrometrics. By controlling that environment, the pros can guarantee that every last bit of that damaging moisture is gone for good.
So now that we get the problem, and we know the solution, let's talk about the most important part, prevention. Because there are absolutely things you can do right now to protect your home and hopefully avoid this entire nightmare scenario in the first place.
Think of this as your homeowner's action plan. First, and I can't stress this enough, know where your main water shutoff is and how to use it. Simple things like replacing those cheap washing machine hoses every 5 years can save you a fortune. Also, insulate your pipes, clean your gutters, and maybe think about installing some inexpensive water sensors. Seriously, each one of these small steps can prevent an absolute catastrophe.
And so, we'll end with this question. Your home, it's not just a building, is it? It's probably your single biggest financial and emotional investment. Understanding the risks, knowing the right way to respond, and taking a few steps to prevent it in the first place, all of that is crucial. So the real question is your investment protected?